With the NHL's regular season now kind of winding down, I'm going to be making a lot of videos on the playoffs, but I'm also going to start to get into some prospect videos, looking at some of the top prospects for this up-and-coming draft and which teams I think need some of the top prospects the most. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at Bowen Byram, who in my opinion and a lot of other people's eyes is the best defenseman in this up-and-coming draft, and it really isn't close. I definitely think he will be a top 5 pick, and in today's video, I'm going to take a look at which NHL team needs him the most. I'm only going to look at the teams that are top 4 projected odds currently as of recording this video, and that is the Buffalo Sabres, the New Jersey Devils, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Colorado Avalanche. That is in no particular order, and remember, Colorado does get that Ottawa draft pick, so that is why I'm going to talk about them in this video. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I want to start off by giving you guys kind of an overview on Bowen Byram if you are not familiar with him. He's a 17-year-old defenseman currently playing in the WHL for the Vancouver Giants. He's 6 feet, 175 pounds, so he has some pretty decent size, but he definitely plays a lot more physical than you would think for a guy who's only 6 foot, 175 pounds as a 17-year-old. He definitely likes to lay the body, and last year as a 16-year-old in the WHL, 60 games played, 6 goals, 21 assists for 27 points, a -3, still some pretty impressive numbers for a 16-year-old, and then obviously this year he made a ridiculous jump, 67 games played, 26 goals, 20 more than last season, 45 assists for a total of 71 points, and was a +33 rating. Obviously he showed out and was pretty impressive at the Ivan Hlinka Cup as well, so definitely it was a big year for Bowen Byram, and he really has solidified himself as one of the top prospects for the entire NHL draft, not even just defensemen, but I definitely think a lot of teams with high picks are going to be taking a very close look at him, especially a team that could use a defenseman. Starting off with the Colorado Avalanche, a team that I don't think is going to get Bowen Byram just because they're more than likely going to get the #1 overall draft pick. They currently have an 18.5% chance of getting that #1 pick, and if they do, they're most likely going to go with Jack Hughes or Capo Caco. I think Bowen Byram is probably going to be around the 3rd pick to 5th pick, depending on what team is drafting and what they're looking for in terms of what their needs are. So I definitely think Capo Caco and Jack Hughes solidified #1 and 2, so that's why I don't really see him going to the Colorado Avalanche. And the Avalanche do have a young prospect defenseman in Cale Makar, who's most likely going to come in next season and play a pretty big role. So in terms of needs, they don't really need a defenseman like Byram, but if they are somehow to fall out of the top 3 and not really do well at the lottery, they definitely could still get Bowen Byram with the 4th or 5th pick, and that still would be a huge score for them. I definitely think he'd be a nice fit on this team. I don't really think there's an NHL team where he wouldn't be a good fit, but nonetheless, I don't really see him going to the Colorado Avalanche, and I don't really think they need him as well. At the beginning of the video, I said we're only going to do the top 4, but I completely forgot that the LA Kings were towards the bottom of the league, and they currently have the 2nd best odds at getting that #1 pick. So let's take a look at the LA Kings and how I think Bowen Byram would fit for them, and if they really need him. Now, LA is a team, they already have a franchise defenseman in Drew Doughty. Obviously, he inked that huge extension that I believe kicks in next year, so he's going to be around for a long time, but this is a team heading in a rebuilding direction, and they don't really have a forward who I could see being the next face of the franchise, and I think that is what LA's biggest need is, and it definitely will be huge for them if they can stay towards the bottom of the league and luck out in the draft lottery and get the #1 or 2 pick. Most likely it's going to be the #2 pick if everything stands pat and nothing changes in the draft lottery, and getting a guy like Jack Hughes or Capo Caco, I think it would be best for the LA Kings franchise. But if they are to drop out and end up getting a guy like Bowen Byram, I definitely think it would be huge for them, but I don't really think they need him because in my opinion, LA's needs right now is to get a franchise, forward in the face of the franchise for the future. Now taking a look at the New Jersey Devils, currently projected to get the 3rd overall pick in the 2019 draft, and that is where I could see some teams really starting to consider taking Bowen Byram, because obviously Jack Hughes and Capo Caco are going to be off the board, and New Jersey is a team, they have Ty Smith coming up in the system, hopefully he can be an impact player next year, and they have Will Butcher, but other than that, they don't really have many defensive prospects and young defensemen that are going to really lead that defensive core into the future. In terms of forwards, they have Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, and then obviously the league's MVP of last year, Taylor Hall. So I definitely think Bowen Byram would be a pretty good fit for them, but I wouldn't really say they need him as much as some of the other teams do. I think the Los Angeles Kings could need him a little bit more than the New Jersey Devils, and some teams we're going to talk about a little bit later in the video, but definitely they would not complain if they were to get Bowen Byram, and I think with the 3rd overall pick, that definitely is a possibility. Now looking at the Buffalo Sabres, and this is a team that it seems like they cannot just get out of that rebuilding stage. Towards the start of the year, everyone thought this was going to be a playoff team. Are they a legit threat and a contender to be a threat in the playoffs? But obviously it's been just a downward spiral after the amazing start to the season that they had, and just last summer they drafted a franchise defenseman #1 overall in Rasmus Dahlin, so I don't really think they're in desperate need of a guy like Bowen Byram, but obviously another top 5 pick for the Buffalo Sabres would certainly not hurt them whatsoever. They're currently projected to get the 4th overall pick, and getting Bowen Byram 4th overall is definitely a possibility, and I think that would be pretty insane to have a young defense core with a guy like Rasmus Ristolainen, Rasmus Dahlin, and Bowen Byram. And in terms of getting like a center, because this is a center heavy draft, you have guys like Peyton Krebs and Kirby Dack who are probably all going to go around the 4 to 7 range, and for Buffalo I don't really think they need another center. They have Casey Middlestad and they have Jack Eichel, so I honestly think it is a strong possibility they do go the road of selecting another defenseman and getting Bowen Byram, but I wouldn't say they really need him in the worst way. I would go with them probably just selecting the best overall player with whatever draft pick they have, because this is a team, they have a lot of good pieces and they're not really drafting for needs. They're kind of just trying to fill out the roster and getting the best possible player they can, so he definitely would be an amazing fit in Buffalo, but I don't really think they need him in the worst way. And now finishing out the video with my favorite team, the Detroit Red Wings, currently projected to get the 5th overall pick in the draft, and it's kind of bittersweet right now because I like that we're winning games and that our young guys are doing well, and I think we're on a 5 or 6 game win streak, but I want the best possible chance at the highest pick in the up and coming draft, and winning games right now kind of does suck and hurt our chances at that, but I think nonetheless, no matter if we pick #1 or #5, we're still going to be getting a pretty solid prospect. And I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, but I do think Detroit is the team that needs Bowen Byram the most. This is a team that last year we were supposed to get our prospect defenseman. We were supposed to have Quinn Hughes, but obviously Detroit decided to go with Philip Zadina, who at the time looked like a can't-miss prospect, and there still is a very good possibility that he could turn out to be an amazing pick, but Quinn Hughes certainly looks like he will be the better player out of the two, but I definitely think Detroit has to go with a defenseman in this up-and-coming draft unless we get the #1 or #2 pick, and then which obviously we will go with Jack Hughes or Capo Caco, but I definitely think if we have anywhere from the 3rd pick to the 5th pick, we need to select Bowen Byram, because yes, Philip Hronek, Dennis Cholowski, Vili Soliarvi, Jared McIsaac, all those guys are pretty solid young, defensive prospects, but we don't really have that guy who's going to lead our blue line in the future, and I definitely think we need it in the worst way with Bowen Byram. So that is going to wrap up the video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Make sure to let me know down in the comment section which NHL team do you think needs Bowen Byram the most, and just your overall predictions for how the top 5 and how the draft lottery is going to turn out and all that stuff. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, and with that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys all in the next video.